Hello there. While our MPs chatter in Parliament, the Taliban get down to their evil work. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please press that little bell, but also select the all option or you won't get any notifications. Yes, debate is a necessary part of our parliamentary democracy. But realistic debate is what's needed right now, not a bunch of gasbags demanding the impossible while chasing party agendas and political point scoring. Having listened to many of them standing up one by one today to expound their wisdom, what is the sum of it all? Well, here's my take. First, they did give universal praise to our armed forces as their contributions in Afghanistan have kept us and the people that live there as safe as possible for 20 years, and that's really important to recognise. Second, they said, don't blame the Afghan soldiers for this debacle, but do blame the corrupt top brass and politicians in command of them. Thirdly, and this is very, very important, they all agreed that Joe Biden is a twat. And quite a few had a go at Boris Johnson and Dominic Raab too. Fourth, people, especially women, in that benighted country are now at extreme risk of violence or even death. In fact, the Taliban are already starting their campaign of retribution and cracking down with extreme force on protests and those who wave the, up until recently, official flag of Afghanistan. Fifth, we must get every one of those who assisted us or our allies out of Afghanistan, or should I say the newly declared Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, and put them in a place of safety. And Boris Johnson has already committed to taking 5,000 refugees into the UK this year and another 15,000 over the following 10 years or so. But that initial 5,000 could be doubled. And of course the left wing just wants us to take everybody. And when? Today. And scrap all plans to update our border and asylum laws to boot. Sixth, there was also acknowledgement that a vicious civil war will almost certainly be sparked in Afghanistan, triggering the mother of all refugee crises. And seventh, there's been lots of talk about why we went in 20 years ago. Does that have any bearing at all right now? After all, we've been unceremoniously evicted with our tail between our legs, with absolutely no plans to go back in. So let's leave that bit to the inquiries, shall we? So have I missed anything out? Oh yes, there was 20 minutes of Ian Blackford. As well as general calls for the UK to recognise the Taliban government. And for those who think there was no military solution to be found for Afghanistan, well, the Taliban found one, didn't they? Anyway, what gets me are all these cries to get tens of thousands of people out of Afghanistan right now. But how? The Taliban have encircled the airport and are using whips and guns to control people. And the people that are trying to leave are the ones that have been helping the now deposed government to keep the country running. And those are exactly the people the Taliban don't want leaving the country. The doctors, the vets, the engineers, the administrators who know the system and know the people. And they also won't want judges and politicians, especially the female ones, getting outside the country to cause them problems from outside. They will be on the lists, won't they? The Taliban need people they can control through fear to do the work while they hold the guns and whips. They also need their families there so as to keep them at work and malleable. In fact, reports are coming through that aircraft are leaving Kabul airport empty because of the Taliban blockade. And there's little we can do without committing to a whole new military operation. I do not think this will be a 21st century Dunkirk moment. Want to know what the Taliban said? Then keep watching. But first, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thanks supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Link in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. So what has the Taliban said? Well, the BBC World Service tweeted out a video of one Taliban commander saying, "All our sisters, all our women are secure. Our God, our Quran, says women are a very important part of our society." I'm surprised they didn't wheel out a female Taliban commander to make that announcement, aren't you? Anyway, he went on to say that if Afghan women continue to live according to Sharia, we will be happy, they will be happy. Doesn't that fill you with so much confidence? All this talk about a cuddly, likeable and inclusive Taliban 2.0, though, is just utter crap. Taliban 2.0 is an upgrade to Taliban 1.0 along the lines of Terminator 2.0. The Times tweeted, "The Taliban promised yesterday that they would respect women's rights, forgive those who had fought against them, foster a free press, and restore peace as they began a media blitz to convince Afghanistan and the world that they had changed." To which the very sensibly minded Andrew Neil of GB News, replied, "If you believe even a scintilla of this, then I have a bridge to sell you." So it shocked me when I heard our Chief of Defence Staff, General Sir Nick Carter, tell Sky News that you should be careful about using the word enemy when talking about the Taliban. They are, he said, tribespeople and country boys with honour that don't like corrupt governance and want an Afghanistan that is inclusive to all. When the Taliban leaders in Kabul have already said that the rights that women will get will be those available under Sharia law. That means to me that it will be the same Sharia law that they horrifically imposed on the people of Afghanistan until we threw them out 20 years ago. I've got to say, this sounds very much like wishful thinking from a Chief of Defence Staff who is hoping that everything will turn out okay in the end. Fat chance of that. And when the inquiries start, as they inevitably will, he'll be at the top of the list for answering some very difficult questions. Now, I couldn't listen to all the MPs talk for all of the 7.5 hours they ended up voting themselves to talk for. But of those I did earwig, there were two things missing. The first one, thankfully, was that no one blamed it on Brexit. But also on that note, none of them praised Brussels for the EU response either, because there was nothing to praise. But also, none of the ones I did listen to said anything about boosting our military capabilities. None of them acknowledged the pressures placed on our defence forces to have to perform military miracles every time they're called on to do so in the face of budget cuts that those same politicians have been imposing on our Army, Navy and Air Force for all these decades. Just so they can splurge the money on wokish political stuff. Some of those who spoke have been lodged in there like limpets in their safe seats for maybe decades as they oversaw and voted for the decline of the UK. No, they wanted the great European project that, as I've already said, failed to add any value at all in this current fiasco. Many have sat there for years with opportunities to talk about defence, but no, many of them would rather see our defences further dismantled and the money given away in foreign aid and the like. And staggeringly, many of them still do think that. Corbyn and Bergen, who I talked about yesterday, to name but two. For a start, they both support Labour CND, their campaign for nuclear disarmament. Great with China sitting there like a coiled viper, isn't it? And Labour CND is against the Tories increasing defence spending as well. While yesterday, as far as I could see, those two jokers backed by another 16 were talking about paying war reparations to a Taliban-run Afghanistan. And then there was one Tory MP, Alicia Kearns, who begged that the Brits open up their homes and spare rooms for Afghan refugees, saying this was a wholly preventable tragedy. Well, now that the hotels are full, the government could well be on the lookout for underutilised properties, couldn't they? Anyway, now that Parliament's closed and the MPs are heading home, I wonder what positive impact their musings will have had on the people of Afghanistan. Please let me know. So what's your opinion on events in Afghanistan so far? Please like and comment below.